Hey everyone, this week I've been driving this 2021 Subaru Crosstrek. Crosstrek gets a facelift for 2021, and the big news is that it's now available with a more powerful 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine. Previously, the Crosstrek came exclusively with a 2-liter four-cylinder that made 152 horsepower. This larger engine, which is available only in the top 2 trim levels, it makes 182 horsepower. So this thing was previously pretty underpowered, so I expect that additional 30 horsepower should make a pretty big difference. Given that this is a vehicle that people use for skiing and snowboarding, I've brought it here to the base of Big Cottonwood Canyon, just outside of Salt Lake City, and today we're going to drive it up to Brighton to see how well it can handle the long, steep canyon drive. It's about a 15-mile drive. Right here, we're at about 4,900 feet, and at the top we'll be at about 8,700 feet. So that's about 4,000 feet over 15 miles. So it should definitely put this thing to the test. Let's just do a quick tour. There's a couple things I want to highlight about the vehicle before we set off, and yeah, then we'll see how this thing can handle the canyon. So I guess I should first mention that, yeah, this is a sport trim, so it has that more powerful 2.5-liter four-cylinder. Changes aren't too significant beyond that. It gets revised fascias front and rear. There's some changes to the packaging structure. This sport trim level is new for 2021. It comes with some interesting interior materials. Before we check those out, let's look in the cargo area. So I actually have my snowboard in here just so I can give you an idea of how much space this thing has. My board's pretty ridiculous. It's pretty long, 173 centimeters. Snowboards typically run between about 140 centimeters and 160, 165 centimeters. So this one's pretty long, and it fits in here diagonally. So if you had 3 people riding along, you could leave the big seat up, put this one down, and fit your stuff kind of diagonally this way. I actually brought a tape measure so we can see exactly how long this is. So from the back of the front seat back all the way to here is about 63 inches. We'll have to convert that into centimeters. And then if you were to fold this seat down and then go diagonally this way, you've got, say, an additional 7 inches. So if you buy one of these and you want to use it for skiing and snowboarding, you're probably just going to want to get a rooftop cargo box or some kind of roof rack, because it will not be too pleasant to jam skis and snowboards into here. But if you're by yourself, obviously you can make things work. Now, I mentioned some interesting interior materials. First area that you notice that in are these seats. They're not cloth, they're not leather, they're actually like a neoprene material. I can see them being fairly durable if you sit down and you're wet, muddy, sandy, whatever. I think this material is going to be pretty nice. Look, it's even on the center console armrest. But all around, I imagine it's pretty durable because it feels durable. Beyond that, yellow accents on the sport trim. So Crosstrek is yellow. Yellow touch on the steering wheel, yellow stitching on the dash, shift boot, seats. Infotainment system is just okay. I wouldn't call it great. I wouldn't call it terrible. In previous generations, Subaru interiors weren't that great. I gotta say, this one's come a long way. Touch points are pretty decent. Design's pretty good. No longer feels cheap like Subaru products did 10 or 15 years ago. All around, not too bad. Crosstrek is made to look like an SUV, but it's really just a compact hatchback that's been raised up a little bit. So, not too bad back here. I've got a little knee room. Not terrible. Wouldn't be the worst vehicle to drive around in with 3 additional passengers. Yeah. Again, not really made to go off-road, even though it has all-wheel drive and a couple different trail modes. These tires are basic Yokohama, Geolanders, so they're an all-season tire. If you really want to take this vehicle on a lot of dirt roads, I'd recommend getting the Falcon Wild Peak AT trail tire. It was basically designed for vehicles like the Crosstrek. Anyway, let's head on up the canyon. Okay, we've got our trip computer cleared out. We've got our MPG reset. So we'll see what kind of fuel economy we get on the way up. And let's go. So the Crosstrek's now in its second generation. It's basically an Impreza hatchback that's had its suspension raised up, and it wears some additional body cladding. So it kind of is like an SUV, but to me it's really just a raised up hatchback. It's kind of like, in the way, the Outback is a wagon version of the Legacy with some cladding and raised suspension. That's pretty much what the Crosstrek is to the Impreza. So this new engine is actually pretty much just as efficient as the old one. The old one is rated at 30 mpg combined. This one comes out at 29 mpg combined, according to the EPA, but its highway fuel economy is actually 1 mpg better than the smaller 2-liter. So this engine is hands down better than the 2-liter. The only drawback, though, is that to get it, you've got to opt for one of the Crosstrek's top 2 trim levels. So, like I said, this is a sport trim. Above it is the limited. These are the 2 models that come with this new engine. And as equipped, this one's just over $29,000. So you definitely have to shell out if you want this more powerful engine. It's nice that it comes with this engine. I just would like to see it on lower trim levels. This vehicle is just significantly better with that more powerful engine. And it's a shame that you can't get it on a less expensive trim level. Just like pretty much every other vehicle in Subaru's lineup, this vehicle's automatic transmission is a continuously variable automatic. I don't love CVTs. I think they're loud. They tend to be unrefined. The power delivery isn't where you expect it would be. Unfortunately, though, most automakers use them. So if you want a mainstream economy car here in 2021, more often than not, it's going to come with a CVT. Toyota is one of the last remaining holdouts. They, I don't believe, use any CVTs, at least outside of their hybrid products, and instead they use an 8-speed automatic. So Subaru, though, and Nissan rely pretty much exclusively on CVTs. You just kind of have to learn to live with them. It's the way of the world. Here's just Popper, definitely climbing in elevation. This is a pretty windy canyon. It's fairly long too. We've now gone just 2.5 miles, so there's a little ways to go now. So far, things feel pretty good. Of course, there is an incessant drone coming from this transmission. It's late afternoon on a Friday right now, so it's pretty busy in the canyon. It is ski season, so there's a lot of downhill traffic right now and some uphill traffic as well. All around, I can see why people like the Crosstrek. It's practical. I used to own a compact hatchback myself, and just having the hatch, being able to fold the second row seats down and stuff a lot of things back there was really nice. I used it to haul bikes inside the cabin. I can't imagine buying a compact sedan today, given how much more practical it is to own a hatchback. Then on top of all that, Crosstrek comes standard with roof rails, and Subaru sells plenty of accessories. So if you're a skier, mountain biker, kayaker, paddleboarder, if you just have a lot of stuff to haul, you can buy any variety of accessory crossbars for this vehicle, and then you've got ski and snowboard racks, bike racks, kayak strap down things, rooftop cargo boxes, rooftop basket things, plenty of accessories to really get the most out of this vehicle. I'm behind a row of about 4 cars right now, so really can't hit the gas too much. Okay, we are now in the S-bend. If there weren't all these cars in front of me, I could test the suspension handling. Yeah, not too much lean. Obviously, this vehicle sits a little higher than a normal Impreza hatchback, so yeah, the suspension's gonna lean a little bit more, but nothing too notable right there. CVT does have shift points. They're like fake engineered shift points to make it behave like the automatic transmissions that most of us are familiar with. There's your lane departure warning. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm still not sold on CVTs, but we'll see, I guess. I don't really have a say in the matter, unfortunately. Plenty of active safety features in this thing. Crosstrek gets a top safety pick plus rating from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Subaru seems to prioritize safety in their vehicle designs these days. About 15 or 20 years ago, Subaru used to sell most of their vehicles just on the grounds that they came with standard all-wheel drive. Now, plenty of Subaru's competitors offer all-wheel drive in their small cars. On top of that, pretty much every SUV is available with all-wheel drive, and SUVs are the way of the world these days, so offering all-wheel drive no longer sets you apart in the industry the way it did 15 or 20 years ago. So to make up for that, I think Subaru has leaned hard into its active safety features. It was one of the first companies to come to market with an automatic emergency braking system. It's this eyesight system, which is kind of unsightly up here. It's a much bigger unit than in any competitor. But either way, Subaru is one of the earliest adopters of active safety features. And beyond that, there's not really much that sets them apart. They certainly lean into their rugged heritage. Just the issue is that pretty much every automaker offers a vehicle these days that can be considered rugged. There just isn't as much substance to their off-roady marketing compared to 15 or 20 years ago, when they really did offer something unique in their all-wheel drive systems. So we are about halfway up the canyon now. Let's see, the temperature has dropped from 48 to 38 degrees. So average fuel economy right now looks like we're getting 18.2 on our way up the canyon, which sounds about right given that this thing is rated at 29 combined by the EPA. So 18, given that we're covering 4,000 vertical feet over 15 miles, yeah, that's about right. Okay, we're about 11 and a half miles in now, so we're approaching the top. I'd say we're at probably 7,800 feet right here. So far the powertrain's fine. Unfortunately, I haven't driven a Crosstrek with a smaller engine, but this one at least doesn't really feel strained. Of course, I'm behind a row of vehicles, so I'm not really able to push it, but all around everything feels pretty sound. These Crosstreks are everywhere. I just saw 2 of them go by. There's a third one. There's one. Oh, that was a hybrid. So the Crosstrek Hybrid is a plug-in hybrid. So on a full charge, meaning you plug it in overnight, unplug it the next day, you'll have 17 miles of all-electric range. It's rated at 90 mpge with a full charge. It's got 17 miles of battery range with a full charge, and then after the battery's been depleted, it's rated at 35 mpg. So nothing too crazy, actually. It's eligible for a $7,500 federal tax credit. So that brings the price down to about $28,000, $29,000. It's just the least powerful out of the 3 Crosstrek powertrains that are available, and it's not that much of a fuel economy advantage, so whatever. I probably wouldn't bend over backwards looking for one. Okay, we are nearing the top. We're now 14 miles in, so pretty much there. About to pull into the Brighton parking lot. I was hoping to hit some snow up here, but just looking like dry asphalt all around. Okay, all right, looks like there's some slush in the parking lot here. Test out the all-wheel drive system. Yeah, not a lot of slippage. Hitting some pretty big piles. Okay. So we will park here. So all around, I'm pretty impressed by how the Crosstrek performed driving up the canyon here. Not much of note, which is what you want when you're evaluating a vehicle in these conditions. Okay, I've been idling for a minute, but you can see 18.6, 14.2 miles, 39 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, keep in mind, you drive up a canyon, you're going to drive back down, and on the way down, we'll probably get something like 40, 50 mpg. So it'll even out. I imagine we'll probably be in the high 20s when we get back down to the bottom. The CVT wasn't nearly as annoying as I thought it was going to be. Maybe I'm coming around to these continuously variable automatic transmissions. They kind of seem to be the way of the future, or at least for several automakers. So, and yeah, this one really wasn't too obtrusive. Power was fine, I thought. Going from 152 horsepower to 182 horsepower in the Crosstrek here is definitely a significant jump. Just keep in mind, yeah, the vehicle is available with this more powerful engine, but unfortunately, it's maybe not in the most popular trim levels. So either way, though, in a vacuum, I give the new powertrain here in the Crosstrek a thumbs up. And yeah, I found it to be plenty powerful to get up to the ski resort here. Thanks for watching. Coming down the canyon now, we averaged out to 30.9 mpg, so that's pretty good.